Hello everyone, dear hackers. This is DC Pro Max from the Hacker Base. Today we have a very interesting lesson. It's called Media Queries. Media Queries is adaptive layout for mobile, separately for desktop, separately so that your site, your web application looks the same. Cool both on mobile and desktop devices. It's also commonly referred to as flexible layout. Adaptive websites. I remind you that after each video, you can ask me questions in the Hacker Base's private Telegram channel. To do this, you need to either go through the QR code to my bot, and it will direct you to the private group, or go to the description via the link. Look, why do we need media queries? Let's open our site in the browser and take a look. For this, there's a button here, and open in browser. Look. You see, it looks great on mobile devices, but for desktop, when we open it, not so much. And we need to adapt it for both platforms, both for mobile devices and for desktop. In CSS, there is a magical property for this called media queries. I'll do it separately here. I'll split styles. For this, we need to write media screen, media only, only screen. And so I want, roughly speaking, what I want to write. 769 styles will be applied. What does this mean? Media queries. That is, the styles will be applied in such a case if the window width, the display width, is less than 769 pixels, by the way. Which means now you will see, let's say, look, if I have the desktop open, I want this container, yes, to occupy 50% of the width. You will now understand what I mean. Where is our container? Do we have such a container? Let me see, I copied it, we will refer to it now. Look at what we will write with. It's a bit difficult to understand in words, but now you will see in a real example, if the screen width is more than 700 pixels, it appears 50%. But we also need to center the margin. To center it, we need to set margin out. It will add the same distance on all sides. Look. I want to open this in the browser. Look at what we have achieved. We can even make it smaller. I want 30%. Let it be 40. Up to 40 it will be valid. But not bad like this. Not bad. Look, if you press F12 or FN12. Developer console, look, there's a button here. It's a device. How will it look on different devices? Look, this is a real device simulator, but it doesn't work in this case. Do you know why? Because there's a trick. We need to specify the viewport in HTML. Initially, when HTML was developed, it wasn't intended for use on mobile devices. And accordingly, when you open a page by default, whether it's on a phone or a desktop, it always sees the version as on a desktop, and it ignores all these media queries and so on. For this, we need to write such a meta tag inside the head. It's called viewport. Meta name equals viewport. So here I will copy paste this whole thing. So the meta tag doesn't need to be closed. In the content, we specify device width initial scale. That is now our browser. When we open the browser, the browser will understand that we want to display differently. That is, we want to focus on the device's width, because when we open a site from a device, it perceives it. It creates a virtual viewport width. It creates as if we opened it from a desktop. And here, it will use not the virtual width, but specifically the width of the device from which you opened it. Look what will happen. See, everything has changed. iPhone SE, iPhone XR. iPad Air, iPad Pro, iPad Mini. There's the iPad Mini. Well, let's see, I don't know. iPhone 14 Pro Max Standard. The header is too long. I want to shorten it a bit, so let's just have it as news. Everyone, take a look. It looks nice and neat on devices. If I remove the desktop, here's the desktop. The desktop version is like this. Here's the feed. Choose any of the 5 devices, see how it will look, on which device your site will be viewed by a surfer, whether it's some Samsung Galaxy 51 tablet, Miziji. And now let's go back, and this way in media queries you can separately specify properties for all your classes, IDs and so on. That is, media is read separately, meaning roughly speaking, as soon as the screen becomes larger than 769 pixels, these styles are applied additionally. These styles overwrite this container. These styles overwrite the main ones. As soon as it goes back to being smaller, everything reverts to those styles. So that's how it is. Here you can additionally specify anything you want. Well, look, if we specify, let's say 100 pixels. That is, if the width of our device is more than 500 pixels, these styles start to apply, but there we need very little. 769 is the standard desktop resolution, meaning laptops of 13 inches and so on. That's the point. I chose 769 because if you specify 768, it applies to the iPad mini, which is quite a small device. Yes, I'm still on the iPad mini. I want it to display, as you can see, 768 width. I still want it to be written as 700 to 760, and that's all. That's it. When I don't think 40 is enough, 40 is not enough. That's why. Well, key, of course, I will also attach a link to help you understand, media queries. Here it is again. In the last lesson, I forgot to attach it. In that, the HTML index regarding navigation and lists. This nav element, just take a look at what it is. Learn what HTML lists are. This is for your self-education. Be sure to study these materials. Everything I provide during the lesson for self-study, at least open it and skim through it. Well, if you have grasped this material by today's lesson, then we are already very close to programming and JavaScript. This was DC Pro Max from HackerBase with you. Subscribe to HackerBase on Telegram, go to the bot, either via QR or the link in the description. There, I will answer all your questions and provide additional information if I missed something during the lesson. And of course, below I have created a sandbox for you where all this code is available. Sandbox, go ahead, take a look. See you in the next lessons.